going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here at Dean 7904. If you want to get all technical, I mean, it's 5:30 on the dot on the East Coast, 2:30 on the West Coast, 4:30 Tennessee time. So, of course, that means it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today, wearing his finest of tank tops, it's Grant Neeford. How's Hump Day treating you there, Grant?
Oh, it's going pretty darn solid. Yeah, I got a stack I like, which people are going to know I like because they're just perpetually underpriced and undervalued and underowned.
It's funny because we talked pre-show, and a lot of times we don't talk like the slate, like to keep it organic, and just kind of talk about nonsense and other random things. And we always tend to disagree on things, even though we.
Yeah, I'm right and you're wrong, so it's pretty apparent why we disagree.
Well, no, that's I mean, look, that's not worth digging into. What you did throw out about 7 minutes ago, you're like, yeah, there's a stack I like, and I go and I was like, it better not be the Mariners, and we didn't even confirm if it was or was not the Mariners, but I just like made fun of your Mariner love for the last 6 or 7 minutes, and then you were pointing to the scoreboard because apparently the Mariners stack was good last night. Because
yeah, they put up 10 runs. You've literally been like, you're an idiot twice. And both times they put up 9 or more runs.
So you're saying I should stack, was it Torrens in the 8-hole and Long in the 9-hole? And when you say stack the Mariners, you're saying stack the 8 and 9 hitters, right? That's exactly what you're saying.
I will have exposure to all 9 hitters in the lineup.
That is a very clever way of answering that question. Well done.
I have ones that I prefer, but I mean, I can tell you my favorite hitter who's going to hit a bomb today. It's going to be Jake Fraley.
Yeah. Well, do we have an official Seattle lineup?
No, we don't. Assuming that he's in there, but realistically, there isn't a drastic disparity. When the only two guys that really matter in the lineup are Haniger and Seager. Seager is fantastic. Haniger is perpetually priced where he should be. Seager is always underpriced.
We expecting Haniger back tonight?
I don't know. I honestly
that seems important.
No, it's irrelevant.
It really weakens the rest of that lineup. I know they put up a 10 spot last night, but that Bailey Ober is actually pretty competent. He's pretty solid, and we'll talk about it as far as arms. But 8-gamer tonight. Coors is doing his thing right now. Have you been outside? I know it's melting there in Colorado.
I was outside at like 7:30 in the morning, and that's it.
Yeah, otherwise you're not going.
Well, I also grabbed my bag of DoorDash.
What'd you order today?
Nashville hot chicken burrito.
You ordered a Nashville hot chicken burrito in Denver?
Yes.
All right. How was it? As good as the Nashville hot chicken burrito you get in Nashville?
No. Well, I never had one in Nashville. I just prefer getting the regular Nashville hot chicken. But hot chicken places are so prevalent now, especially in Denver. I think there's like 15. They just know what they're doing.
Yeah, if Nashville hot chicken was a stock, you could have bought that like in 2013 and made a killing. Like now it's all. You could almost argue it's jumped the shark, right? Not the hot chicken. No,
as a jump. No, it's not on the downfall. It's still fantastic.
I mean, everybody, even like just like KFC have like a hot chicken thing, I think.
Yeah, and it's actually not bad.
Tonight's slate. This is the big question for me on the slate, and I tweeted about it earlier, and it's just like I can't believe that Jacob Degrom is pitching tonight. That's just wild to me. He left last game with an injury, it was a flexor of some sort. The MRI came back clean. Is he actually on like 5 or 6 days rest precisely? Didn't go on the IL or anything. And you'd have to assume, I'm not privy to the medical records, you have to assume he's good to go. And like his side stuff was all clean because the Mets have a ton of money invested in him. They shouldn't theoretically care about game 70 or 75 of 162 in the middle of the season against a Cub team that has absolutely horrific lineup going out there today. I'm not sure if you saw the Cubs lineup, but Chris Bryant got hit in the hand last night, so he's not playing baseball. And also they're down to their backup catcher as well, Jose Lobaton. Oh boy, it's a terrible Cub lineup. Like if DeGrom was healthy, and maybe he is, he should.
It's an easy way to fit in 100% of them.
So I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know. I don't know, but like if he is fine, and that they let him throw like just 90 pitches because he's super efficient with his pitches, he's not going to throw over 100. That's just not what he does, even when he's quote unquote like perfectly healthy. And again, I assume he's healthy if he's pitching. But have you seen this Cub lineup? Wisdom, I know he's shown some pop, but he's going to strike out plenty. They got Nerd Power Sogard, who's going to be like a bit of a pest probably, but he'll still probably pop out and ground out a couple times, maybe even strike out once or twice. But what do we do with DeGrom? Do we just assume? And then this also, the Mets organization has a history of being kind of dopey when it comes to injuries.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't think DeGrom's really been part of that too much. Has he? Has he had a major injury?
DeGrom, yeah. Didn't he? I feel like he missed a season. Unless I'm making, with daily fantasy guys, you kind of forget these things. I feel like DeGrom may have missed a season or close to an entire season. Didn't that happen? Now I'm just confused. If only I had a machine, I can type the name in. That's what I'm going to do.
He never missed a season.
No, most of a season, a chunk of a season. Doesn't matter.
No, oh, he missed back in 2016. I think he might have missed like 6-8 games, but
that's not what I'm thinking of. I must be thinking of somebody else. So yeah, what do we do with DeGrom? And the other thing is that we'll talk about it. There's really good pivots. So like you don't necessarily have to take this quote unquote risk. And it's not hard to fit them on DK at all. On FanDuel, it's a little bit trickier, just the way the kind of prices work. And a DK, you can get a cheaper SB2 if you want to, and it's just there's more lineup flexibility. And just the way the prices work. I think it's easier to fade DeGrom on FanDuel than it is on DK. It's kind of where I'm at as far as messing with lineups. But it sounded like you were insinuating that you're playing 100% DeGrom, like you don't care about whatever so-called injury he had last time out.
Yeah, I don't care about whatever so-called injury he had out. Like they wouldn't let him go on normal rest if he wasn't ready to go. I can't remember what. Yeah, I mean, in theory, but I'm going in theory and in actuality. I don't think they would actually do that. I mean, it's just simple to pay for him on the slate over on DraftKings. It's a little bit tough on FanDuel, which might depress his ownership. This is a guy that is, if he is healthy, is getting you 30 points. Like it's what, pretty close to a guarantee at this point.
He has more RBI this season than he has earned runs allowed. I believe it's 5 versus 4, and that wouldn't be like incredible if we were like 3 or 4 or 5 starts into the season or something like that. But we're at June 16th. Insane. It's complete insanity.
He has the lowest xFIP and the highest K rating I have ever seen at this point in the season.
46.2% as far as the Ks, which is again a completely ludicrous number. If he goes 6 innings, you have to assume he's striking out 10. Like, why wouldn't he?
His K prop is literally at 9.5, and I hammered the over.
Wow, that's ballsy, my friend. With the kind of the cloud of I would have just stayed away. I think I would have stayed. Maybe I'm just a wimp. Like you don't have to bet everything. So you're just, to me that says you have no concern as far as essentially minimal concern.
So there's been 3 starts where he's had under 80 pitches. Mm-hmm. And those 3 starts, he did not have above like 7 Ks. I had 1 of 9. But every other start this season, what do you think is outside of the first one outside of 1 versus Philly? Actually, no, he didn't pitch 80 pitches there. So every start where he's pitched over 80 pitches, he's had at least 9 Ks. He's going up against...
I'm not sure he's pitching 80 pitches today. And also, he pitched 80 last time out, before that 85, before that 70, before that 63, before that 68. Of course, a couple of those was coming back from rehabbing from an injury, and they want to kind of baby him a little bit. But he wasn't even fully ramped up. Like, he was at 85 and then 80.
So he was pulled at 80. Like, he's getting ramped up. Earlier on the season, he was going 90, 95, 100, 110, or 109 at one point. Last start, he got pulled because he was feeling a little bit soreness in his elbow. And so they just wanted, he was already 6 innings in. They just wanted to be overly careful. He was fine. Yes, it could end up popping up again, but that doesn't matter to me. Like, everyone has a chance. Scherzer just got injured the first at bat.
It seemed much more serious. If you were watching the game, it's like, oh, this is going to be, and like, you've seen the internet doctors out there as well. They kind of watch the footage and kind of give the breakdown. I'm sure you've seen those guys out there. And they're like, yeah, he's going to be out for at least several weeks, and it might linger. They might bring him back too soon. And maybe, and again, that's all that stuff is possibly overreacting, just giving a variety of options. This start to me is not comparable to all the other starts because he's coming off of whatever happened to him last time, which again, the MRI supposedly came back clean. His side session was fine. But I'm not 100% confident that, like...
Are you ever 100% confident in anything? Can you ever be 100% confident in anything in sports? Has there ever been an absolute lock outside of the Snell under 6.5 Ks earlier in Coors? That was just a silly line.
What a good bet that was. Yeah, I wasn't in on it. I'm in the wrong state, unfortunately. I can't partake, but Yeah. Did he? How many Ks did he end up having? He might have
I
had
think
0 or 1.
2, 1.
Two. Okay. Yeah. Well done. Good job there, Grant. Hey, you know
Thanks.
what? Give a plug. Tell the people out there in chat. What up, chat? Do like, subscribe, turn on notifications. It's an 8-game slate. We're gonna knock everything out. We're spending a lot of time on the ground, but I think he's an important, integral part of this slate. But tell the people the good work you do at Scores and Odds, because they can get such things as player props you like.
Yeah, no, I'm on there pretty much every single day, at least during the week. Sometimes I take the weekends off, unless, I mean, it's pretty simple. Like I throw them up there as soon as I bet them, and then I just write out a blurb, and maybe long and maybe just short, like, hey, do this. It's dumb not to. But yeah, we got betting picks for everything all the time, pretty much all sports. Noto and STL have been absolutely destroying golf, and I don't normally bet that much on golf, but I'm betting a decent amount this weekend. I think I'm 64 and 34 on player props with like a 20%, 25% ROI.
And it's also worth noting, you say you bet them, you post it once you bet them, like those lines are fluid, and you're taking advantage of bad lines. You're shopping around, and you gotta pounce, right? When you see the right line, you gotta pounce. And I think it's worth noting. And people,
so just
shop around, obviously.
Sign up for Scores and Odds. If you do, you get Propcast. If you're in a regulated state, look at the line, especially the ones I give you, and immediately go over to Propcast, figure out which site has the best odds for it, and hammer it. It's that simple. It literally takes most of the guesswork out, Propcast does, and just shows you exactly where to bet every single time.
If you guys are premium members, there's a golf show later on tonight. You got Tambo and Noto talking the golf using the lineup builder. If you guys are not premium members, why not get yourself premium? $10 off the first month. You can do that for one sport. Just want baseball, just want golf. Why would you just want golf and be watching this show? I don't know. Or you get all the sports with the exception of NASCAR, however you want to do it, $10 off your first month. And you did mention golf, so it's a good time to knock this promo out as well too. Superdraft, there is a free roll going down for Superdraft. It's one of the big majors, obviously, this weekend. I believe it's US Open. $1,000 prize pool, $200 to first. Top 200 spots are going to get paid. You can enter 5 times, and we are even unlocking for everybody, not just premium members, for everybody, the Superdraft Lineup HQ to help you build your lineups. And there was even a show last night in this very channel. That's why you hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, go back to the Rotogrinders channel. And I'm not exactly sure who was on it. I believe it was an assortment of Tambo and Cards and Noto and all the solid golf guys. But any final thoughts as far as Degrom, or you want to move on to the potential pivots that are really good?
We can move on to the potential. Someone asked me what props I have. I only had one written up, so I'll give you guys a freebie. Literally just throw money on it. When you win money, go sign up for Scores and Odd Premium, so I don't have to throw them out on these shows. Gosh darn it, the line moved.
Oh, well, you got to pounce, man.
I did. No, I already bet it.
Oh.
I was going to give it out to the people, but it was Grinky over 4.5 Ks at minus 115 over on BetMGM. Now it's at minus 150 is the best you can get it at.
Would you bet that at minus 150? That's a lot to lay.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I'll just give you this one. If you want to, honestly, you can take the over on 5.5 at plus 120 over on FanDuel, or you can take the over a 4.5 over on DraftKings at minus 150. But the best move right now is Degrom plus 104 over 9.5 Ks on FanDuel, and there's an odds boost for Degrom to strike out the first 2 pitchers first 2 hitters at plus 400, which is at a 50% K rate guy. Like, you just look at it like that. He's going up against 2 above average K rate guys going up against righties, and he's a 50% K rate guy based on maths, assuming both of them are a coin flip, which is basically what they are.
Grant, Rizzo is 14% as far as striking out versus righties.
But not this year.
Yes, I'm looking at the old plate IQ right now.
What am I looking? What are you sure?
I don't take it up a plate IQ. I don't tell you. But yeah, Rizzo's not striking out.
Rizzo's batting second. I hadn't updated plate IQ. Fudgems. They might have upped the line. I just don't care. Like, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to strike out more than 14% of the time against Degrom if you sim it out 1,000 times, obviously. But Rizzo is a contact guy. Just pull up the Texas lineup. I was curious. You were talking about Greinke, and Greinke, of course, not a big strikeout guy, 18% Ks in the season. But that Texas lineup, a lot of Ks in there with Lowe and Garcia and Gallos, Solak, all those guys at least at 27% versus righties. White in there at 42% this season. Culberson 34%, collectively at 26.9%. I think that DK, he's cheap enough to have as your SB2. Nobody likes to roster Zach Greinke. I pretty much never roster him, but it's a good matchup and the price is suitable. So he might make some of my builds if I'm, spending up on Braves, something like that, Freeman and Acuna, like, salary, a little more with salary cap. So any thoughts as far as Greinke? That's more of a DK SB2 pitcher for me than anything else. Is he somebody that's you're excited? You're not excited about it, but this is the spot.
Excited about Greinke? I mean, I kind of am.
Okay.
He's going up against Texas. The guy is still pretty darn good at this point in his career. He's going up against Texas. Texas is throwing out 4 lefties going up against him. He has a 6% higher K rate going up against lefties than he does against righties. Over his last 7 starts, he's had 5 of them over 18 points. He's had a 33-point outing in there, multiple in the 20s. He's a guy that's still pitching well, and he can go late in the games. He can be very efficient. He's a guy that can strike out lefties at a high clip, and we're getting some of the highest strikeout lefties in the league going up against him in Gallo and Lowe.
I just ran him down, yeah.
But, I mean, White's in the lineup. He's a big strikeout guy. Mm-hmm. Culberson's in the lineup. He's a pretty big strikeout guy. So you got high strikeout righties, and you got some lefties in there that are going to strike out at a big clip. So it's pretty simple. It's Greinke, who may not be what he once was, but he's still a very good pitcher. And this is a high strikeout lineup. The plate IQ has it at 25.5%. Greinke's normally and many times has been way higher price than this. We've seen him up over 10K at one point this year. Then he dropped down, and they kept dropping it because they went over on his overall season numbers, which he had a stretch of 3 bad outings. So the algorithm takes into account the entire season, and he gets a -2. He gets 3 bad outings of under 10 points, but over the last 10 games, he still had 6 good outings. So he's not priced the way he should be. The only problem is he is going to be pretty heavily owned, but almost everyone that you really want to get is. The real pivot on this slate might actually be Zack Wheeler. Zack Wheeler is going up against the Dodgers. The Dodgers are very much a tough team to beat, but Wheeler has been absolutely fantastic at points this season. He's got under a 3 xFIP. He's got a 32% K rate. He's going to come in at 3-4% owned because we have several aces on the slate. No one's going to play Wheeler over Degrom. No one's going to play Wheeler over Cole. And are you?
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't agree with that number. Maybe I'm just my own little world in this, and I'm late on Wheeler.
Thank you so much. Oh, this is perfect. This is going to mess around with a whole bunch of people on the ownership rejection team, but that's entirely fine with me. I don't think we have Dylan Moore in the lineup, which is massive.
Wait, so Haniger doesn't matter, but Dylan Moore does matter.
No, Dylan Moore was going to be 36% owned.
Oh, okay, I got you. So there's no
Dylan Moore is at 2.6K, and he has name recognition, while a lot of these other guys don't.
Name recognition amongst the Mariners, but not in the actual league.
And he's going to be 36% owned. He grades out well in a lot of projection systems. He's cheap. He has some pop, and people have seen him play more than a lot of these other guys. People don't play names they don't recognize, and Fraley has not been in the league for more than a month, I don't think.
Batting second.
Well, is he batting second? Nice.
Crawford, Fraley, Haniger's in the lineup. Seager, France, Bowers, your boy Long, Trammell, and Godoy.
Gosh, Godoy is the worst. That guy is not good.
No. Well, neither is the other guy that had a good night last night.
He's got a little bit more pop. Godoy is just straight up not good. He's a bad hitting catcher. But I think from what I remember, he's a pretty solid overall catcher. And so they're kind of bringing up, that's why they don't play Murphy that much. But who was the catcher that did well yesterday?
Luis something. I think it's Luis.
I don't know why I'm blanking. But he's an actual overall
T.
solid prospect, solid hitting catcher. I think he might have actually been the DH last night. Torrens.
Yeah, there you go.
Torrens is not a bad hitting catcher. Neither is Murphy. Godoy is not grading out to be a very good catcher at all from the hitting perspective. I think all projection systems had him right around a 270 WOBA, which is fine. He's 2.1K. If you need to fill out a catcher position, that's fine because catcher is pretty much trash every single day. And I mean, we look at today's slate. Real Muto's in tough spot versus Kershaw.
Are we done with pitchers? Why are we talking about catchers now?
I mean, I would just go around like.
I'm just throwing me off.
Yeah, well, sorry, I don't like to sit to a set schedule. I like to get the information out there. But yeah, there's not really anyone else we really want to pitch at pitcher.
Yeah, it is. Well, first of all, I don't understand our ownership right now in Wheeler. Obviously, the closer we get to walk, the more refined it gets, and I don't agree with that number where we have it. Kershaw.
We have Cole, we have Kershaw, we have Degrom. So are people going to pay for? So first of all, Degrom is going to be 50% owned, 55% owned, maybe. So take literally over a quarter of the overall ownership and just get rid of it. Cole is going to be the other guy people are going to play well over Wheeler.
I don't agree with that. Maybe I'm my
yeah, that's why we pay you to do ownership projections.
I don't do. Look, it's actually not an easy job today, and I think that the Degrom number might be a little bit lower. Again, maybe this is my own little world, but I think there is some hesitancy to some degree on Degrom as far as him coming back. There's a bit of a mystery, and again, maybe this is just my bad read. But we have
not everyone's as frail as you are. Not everyone's belief in someone can go that poorly based off of his elbow was sore. I can't do that. People who play DFS,
the elbow was important to pitching. I'm no pitching instructor, but I'm fairly certain an elbow matters.
Yes, but he just was sore. Everything checked out. They wouldn't let him go on normal rest. They give him an extra day off or two if there was anything to worry about.
So we talk about K rates all the time in baseball for pitchers, and of course they matter. You mentioned Wheeler, and I want to talk about Wheeler because not just K rates, but leash. And who's got a better leash than Wheeler? He throws the third most pitches per game, 101.6, and he sees the second most batters per game amongst all pitchers at 26.62. Opportunity matters, and we talk about his K rate. It's up to 32.5%. Why is it up to 32.5%? Because the last 5 games, Grant, 56 punch outs. He's all of a sudden a strikeout pitcher throwing in the high 90s. I think he might even tick 100 every once in a while. And he's facing a Dodger team, which like that uniform is scary. And, in theory, it's an opposing lineup. But, we know they lost Muncy. Seager's gone for the year. They're without Bellinger as well. It's Betts and who else? Who are we afraid of on this Dodger team? It's not that great. He's going to go super deep. I don't understand the ownership on Wheeler. And if he's going to be that low, he's one of my favorite pitchers, if not my favorite pitcher on the slate. If the hesitancy, the concern, obviously in the Degrom, of course, if he's fully good to go, he should be number one anywhere. But I love Wheeler. I love Lamp. I love Wheeler.
Yeah, as do I. I'm going to play a lot of Wheeler. You know an easy way to play Wheeler and Degrom?
An easy way? What, you're going to talk about some crappy catcher now?
No, I'm going to say just stack the Mariners.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about Cole because I'm surprised to see the number on Cole. Facing Toronto, tough offense, tough ballpark to pitch in. He's one of those spin rate guys. If you have some concern about that as well, the spin rate's been down. And even Kershaw against Philadelphia, who we're probably not going to see Harper do the official lineup. He got hurt last night. Segura got hurt as well. Both those guys, I believe, are banged up. So I'm not really sure what kind of lineup we're going to see out of Philadelphia. My bold call today, I don't know, you tell me if it's bold or not. My bold call today in the expert survey was there will be no more than 3 runs scored in the Philadelphia Dodger game. Is that bold enough for you?
I mean, it's fairly bold, but realistically, it's not that bold. I mean, they have a 7 implied total. I think 30% of 7 implied total games end up with less than 4 runs.
Why do you know? Is that a random stat? Is that for real? You just make that up, or that's legit?
Honestly, at this point, I don't know.
So talk to me about Kershaw. Talk to me about Cole. Like, of course, Cole can get there, but that Toronto lineup is pretty tough. That ballpark's not necessarily ideal. Doesn't matter what ballpark you're playing, and if you're striking dudes out. Yeah, and then I think we should at least acknowledge the existence. And you want to stack the Mariners, but I think a cheap way to get stuff you really like in the slate is to play the rookie there for Minnesota, Bailey Ober, who looks. I watched him pitch against Houston. He looked pretty solid in that game. His issue, well, I guess if it is going to be an issue, he's not going to go very deep, maybe 80 pitches or something like that. And that Seattle lineup, as much as you love them, they're not that great. They're not that scary. There is an opportunity cost, of course, at pitcher as well, because we just ran down Degrom and Cole and even Greinke to some degree, Kershaw, and the potential upside of Wheeler. So there's probably going to be 2 guys that put up big numbers, but if you want to stack, expensive players, just play expensive players as is. I think that the way to get there is to roster yourself some Bailey Ober, that's 2 last names. Is that 2? I think it's 2 last names. Can't go wrong.
You want to play Bailey Ober?
I don't hate it. Like, again, I'm making I think I'm making 8 lineups tonight on DK. He'll be on at least 1. How about that?
Make a bet.
Yeah, I actually don't mind that. If you
make it a bet, make it a bet. Make it a bet on Ober.
Oh, here comes the instigator. Here comes
make it a
the
bet.
Instigator.
Wait,
you owe me a bet. You lost a bet last time.
Yeah, I was going to do that. Cardi also owes me one, so I'm going to do it with him on our Friday show together.
Oh, okay. I was going to try to pay it forward or something like that. No, you okay. So you guys will both be knocking out some bets, and
yeah, I might have to chug 2 now. If I lose this one,
double fist it, man. Well, who do you like? You think it's going to be a negative score? Well, what's your wager for? Again, I'm not a huge backer, not 100% backer of Ober, but I think he's an interesting round.
Under 4 points for Ober.
What was the bet we had before? Negative points for somebody? It was ridiculous.
For Mize, and I think he ended up with 11.
Yeah, whatever. It ended so poorly, but yeah.
Well, he also got saved. He gave up 4 barrels.
He got kind of lucky too. It was one of those you can't have it both ways. All right. What are we wagering here? If Ober's going to put up at least 4 points.
Beer chug. That way we can, me, you, and Cardi can all chug in the show.
You're going to double fist it, man. You're going to have 2 beers in your hands. It's going to be good times for sure. Give me a summary as far as the pitchers. We got to talk bats. We got to talk to the chat. The chat's loading up their questions there now. Devin, besides instigating us to fight, is going to be compiling those questions and joining the show later on and firing off and speaking on behalf of the chat. Let us know. Obviously makes it much easier as far as tell us what site you're playing on. Is it for cash? Is it for tournaments? Just overarching questions. Do you like this guy? You like that guy? This guy? That guy? We'll handle them all. We're happy to answer your questions. Give me a summary as far as the arms, because we got to move. We should have mentioned Disco Stu. Give him a head nod.
He's fine. I personally am using 1, 2, 3, 5 pitchers.
Degrom, Cole, Greinke, Kershaw, Wheeler.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. That was easy.
And it's the only guys you really need to play. It's really simple. Look, you can go differently. If you want to go a little bit differently, then if you want to go off the board and not pay up, you're going to have a little bit of trouble. You're just hoping for a Greinke disaster or an Ian Anderson disaster. Those 2 guys are going to be the 2 highest owned guys below the top tier of pitchers, which are the top 4, which are all clear aces. Outside of that, the only ones that you really have a possibility of doing anything, and I don't like this at all, but it's a decent strikeout lineup. I mean, I want to wait and see what lineup ends up coming out, but Justice Sheffield at certain times has shown a little bit of a glimpse of some upside. This is a lineup that just got struck out by Chris Flexen 8 times last night. So Justice Sheffield would be the only other guy to think about if you really want to go off the board, or Disco Stew. They're the only 2 ones that you even want to have remotely up there. Maybe Ober, maybe Aiken, but really it's, if you want to just get a direct pivot off of Anderson and off of Greinke, it's Disco Stew, who has been pretty solid so far this year, going up against a lower strikeout team, and Sheffield, who has some talent. If he's locating the ball, he can do really well. And this is a high strikeout team that largely relies on barrels. I think they're still number 1 in the league in barrels per plate appearance. By the way, you know who's number 8?
Is it Haniger?
No, I meant the entire team.
Oh, is it Seattle?
I believe it is Seattle. I have to double check on that.
Disco at least has upside, though. He's had a couple of complete games this year, and I know Arizona, they're going to have a pile of lefties against him, and theoretically that's not what you want. But also, it's kind of baked into the price. I think he's coming off a CGSO as well. I don't see the upside in Sheffield. Not enough Ks and walks too many guys. I'll just say this, by the way. Buxton is asking to play, and he's supposedly ready to play, and Baldelli is hesitant to play Buxton. And there's not a lot of late games. He's like 4-4 on TK. I don't know if I don't know if he's going to play. I don't know when he's going to play. He's played some rehab games, but there's a possibility. And maybe that's why we're not getting the Minnesota lineup just yet. Maybe Buxton is in the office right now lobbying, let me play. Just maybe leave a spot. It's just an interesting thought. Maybe Buxton cracks the lineup, and at 4-4 on DK for Buxton against Sheffield is a steal. Not even a pun, because he's got wheels. But it just, maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. 20% chance. I have no idea. I haven't seen anything today, but I know the news that I've been reading about him is he wants to play. And Baldelli's like, I have to wait until you're 100%. We'll see. Catchers. Do you want to say anything about catchers? We're already behind on time. It's garbage, right? Higashioka,
Yeah.
you can play as a punt. Minnesota, I presume Jeffers is going to play. He's super cheap as well. You talked about your boy Godoy, who's not good, but he is cheap and he plays for the Mariners. But there's nothing here to say. There's nothing to see. Like Sal Perez is not on this.
You either round out your stack, or you play whoever fits, or if you really want to, like, you can play out for Real Muto versus Kershaw or Posey versus Kelly. They're two good catchers. But
yeah.
The only guy that actually stands out as a decent point per dollar play is I can never say his name.
Higashioka?
Nope.
It's not that hard. Let's talk about first base. Let's move on. I think Freeman's going to be reasonably popular. Platoon advantage there against Garrett Richards. It's hot once again in Atlanta's mid-80s. Richards is, a fine pitcher. He's okay, but it's not a big slate and whatever. We're getting a bullpen game today out of the Cubbies. This Robert Stock's a 31-year-old and no way a prospect. He's pitched 4 innings his last two times in the minor leagues, but the ballpark stinks. And the Mets lineup's not particularly great, but of course you can play the Polar Bear and Pete Alonso if you want to do that. I think the Astros stack is kind of sort of the obvious one against Jordan Lyles, one of the weaker pitchers taking the ball. Yeah, like that's the obvious stuff, right? It's Gurriel and it's Freeman. As a flat out punt, if you want to get a different build, I'm okay with Dahlback at 2K on DK. It's more of a DK thing just because 2K and DK means so much more than 2K on FanDuel. Otherwise, first is just kind of and if you want to do the Vladdy thing, of course you can play Vladdy against Cole. Like, yeah, absolutely. And short slate and Vladdy homers off everybody. And we talked about that ballpark. Gary Sanchez hit the ball last night in a parking lot. That's what they have in the outfield. But first base, thoughts?
You didn't mention France.
I did not. I figured I'd leave him for you.
Yeah. I mean, France is probably one of my least favorite, but like Ober is good versus righties. Like, the reason why I like the Seattle stack is they're rolling out 2, 4, 5 lefties, or they might be rolling out 7 lefties. Yes, Minnesota does have some lefties in the bullpen. They're rolling out 7 lefties. Ober does not have good stuff versus lefties. Like, his slider is pretty spot on. His changeup doesn't have a whole lot of lateral movement. It has a decent amount of horizontal movement, but it's overall like not good, and that's what he needs going up against Mariners. Like, he does not grade out good versus lefties, which is where I like to target the Mariners. They just happen to be playing over and over again, and then the only lefty that was going up against him was Happ, who's just awful. But his curve
Twins
is not...
have one lefty in the bullpen, by the way, just so you know. Just one lefty for the Twins. The bullpen.
Yeah, you know who's the worst team versus lefties? Who has the worst bullpen versus lefties?
I guess Minnesota.
It is Minnesota. I think they're a 5.01 xFIP going up against lefties. So a 7, like, this is literally a perfect... The only way this could be better is if it was hot in Seattle. But Ober has struck out 16% of lefties, and he's given up a 44%. What ground ball percentage do you think he has on the season versus lefties? Granted, 25 plate appearance.
I was just going to say, I don't care because the numbers, it's what's the sample size? He's pitched 3 games. It's
25, and he's given up a 5.9% ground ball rate.
That's low.
But he has a 593 WOBA and a 409 ISO versus lefties. He's been fantastic versus righties. Like, he's good versus righties, and his pitch mix makes sense because his curveball just, like, he doesn't throw enough heat where the changeup's really going to do that much. There's not enough of a difference in velocity. There's not enough lateral or horizontal movement where he's going to struggle versus lefties. So just play every Seattle player, and I'll stop talking about him. Let's move to second, where it's pretty much Albies, Altuve. They're the top options. Outside of that, yes, you can take Simeon, but that's against Cole, like, and you're only doing that in Toronto stack as a leverage play. Rojas is cheap going up against Disco Stu. Polanco is going up against Sheffield, who's trash, but I wouldn't use him out of a stack. Second base is not great either. I'm going to just go through things, Dean, because we need to get to questions.
I just want to say second base is bad, but something is going to change. Marlon Gonzalez, DK, he is leading off. I guess Kike is not playing baseball today. He's getting a day off? Yeah, so Gonzalez is leading off, and he's 2.3K.
Yeah, would you rather have that or Shed Long at 2.1K? I'd rather have Shed Long.
I'd rather have Marlon Gonzalez. I'm not going to make a beer bet on Marlon Gonzalez, but I would rather have Marlon Gonzalez, and so would the field. If you want to play the the ownership route. The good thing is you don't have to have one or the other. Albies is the one that makes the most sense if you consider price and opportunity. But like you said, it's a terrible position. Guillermo is awful. Sogard is awful. Who nobody really wants to play Solano, but Altuve, against Lyles, who's vulnerable against lefties and righties, doesn't matter. He doesn't discriminate. Polanco's just got a ridiculous price on him, 5K. You kidding me? Maybe if I'm stacking Minnesota, but that's an absurd price. Even Cesar Hernandez at 4.8K, silly. Yeah. Also, Stripling, I think the Yankees are kind of sort of, I don't want to say the secret team, but kind of the sneaky team because, they're one of my favorite teams for tournaments tonight, and I'm going to make sure to be overweight in the field. LeMahieu has had an underwhelming season, but on the road, decent shot at those 5ABs, and Stripling is a reverse splits guy.
His slider has just gone to absolute trash this year. He's going up against 7 righties. But Dean, we got to speed things up here.
We're fine. Give me third base.
Donaldson, Ramirez, Bregman, all pay-ups, all fantastic plays, all ahead of the field. I'll throw Devers in there too. Outside of that, a lot of trash outside of Kyle Seager, who is number 9 in barrels this season, just so you know, Dean, has the platoon split against a guy that doesn't get lefties out. And someone asked earlier in chat, when is Seager going to start hitting? He's hitting. He's getting very unlucky. He's in
the wrong ballpark too.
I mean, the ballpark's not as bad. Seattle, I think, has been going through a bit of a cold stretch over the last 2 months. It's 65 or 70 today, which definitely helps. It's in an open air ballpark, and yes, it's at sea level, but it grades out to be about a neutral, maybe even a slightly above average home run ballpark. And so it's mostly been about the weather, which people just don't pay attention to because Seattle's in a dome, but it's an open air dome. So
have you been? It's like an umbrella.
Yeah.
Have you been there before?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Many times. Fantastic stadium, fantastic city. Love that place. Haven't been back in a long time, but Seattle is like Seager's gotten unlucky. So don't pay attention to his actual stats. Pay attention to his advanced stacks, which I think he has a 487 CX WOBA. That's WOBA based on balls in play and what they should get based on StatCast. He's 9th in barrels, and I think he's still not even close to being in the top 10 for home runs. And everything kind of points towards him being a lot better than his numbers have shown, and that's why they haven't increased. He actually has better numbers on balls put in play than Haniger does, and he's 2K cheaper.
Yeah. Is there a more tilting Twitter account than like the barrel account when you see like, and I try to watch many of his games as possible, so all the quad box stuff and all that too, but don't catch every at bat, obviously. But when you see your guy, barrel, and then it says fly out, like 400-foot barrel. Ouch.
It's literally been the Mariners, which again, it's been a little bit colder and a little bit rainy and dreary, but it's supposed to be decent today. I'll double check the weather.
Chat's going to be loading up those questions for Devin. He'll be joining the shows momentarily.
69 degrees. Nice.
Is it nice though? Shortstop.
69 is a very nice weather. I don't know. I know you wear a hoodie in Florida.
The guy at the gas station said, he goes, I don't know how you wear that. Like he just called me out on it.
Of course he did, because it's weird.
It has pockets. I like pockets. I'm like a marsupial. I appreciate it. Underrated.
You know what else has pockets? Jeans.
Oh my God, you're wearing jeans?
No, I'm wearing shorts. Well,
that's also the man in a tank top.
Yeah.
You haven't worn jeans in like months.
It's got a cat riding a unicorn with a gun and a bandana. Shortstop, it's Bogarts, it's Torres going up against the reverse splits. Stripling, it's Lindor going up against the bullpen. It's Bichette if you want to throw in a Toronto stack. That I wouldn't use him as a one-off at all. And Rojas is a little bit too cheap. That's pretty much it, unless you want to play JP Crawford. But ready to go on to outfield?
Marlon Gonzalez is going to be really popular today. Just my general assessment. He's second base shortstop eligible in DK. This is more of a DK thing than a FanDuel thing, I'm pretty sure. But 2.3K leading off multiple positions as well. Did you mention JP Crawford? He's not even the best Crawford in this slate. You mentioned JP, but did you say anything about Brandon?
No, I didn't. Brandon.
Do you want to acknowledge all the Crawfords?
Brandon Crawford is pretty solid.
Yeah. Is San Fran going to be kind of sort of lost in this slate? I mean,
they are, and I really like them.
All right. You want to knock out some outfielders for us, and we'll turn it over to Devin momentarily.
Same thing as always. Houston guys going up against Lyles. Alvarez, lefty, bunch of pop, 4.7K, too cheap. Brantley, 3.9K, very good hitter, far too cheap. They're both going to be very, very chalky, but they deserve to be so. Acuna, probably not going to get as much ownership as he should because of the aces on the slate, and it's hard to fit him in. I can fit him in because of Mariners. But Acuna, 5.9K, fantastic play. Cruz going up against the lefty, always play him. The Yankees outfielders, I feel like, are going to get a little bit lost. Judge is going to have some ownership, but I don't think Judge or Stan are going to have nearly the ownership that they should. I'd stay away from the Dodgers outfielders. Baltimore, if you don't want to go Seattle, Baltimore is a cheap outfielders that you can use. They're overall a better hitting team versus lefties, but their outfielders are better versus righties. Stewart is very cheap, and Mullins is 3.5K, and he's actually been very good this season. Outside that, Montcastle, Hayes, both fine. But it's just a spot where if you want to pay it for two top arms, Baltimore outfield is a way that you can kind of do it. Outside of that, like, there are other guys that you can play. That Peralta's 2.5K, Rosario's 3.8, going lefty, but he's still going to drop some ownership because of projection systems. One of the better tournament plays on the slate in the outfield is Yaz. Yaz hits well. Kelly.
He's cheap on FanDuel, and on DK he's a tick overpriced.
I don't know if he is overpriced. He's probably priced where he should be.
He's priced more than what we've seen him for, so maybe we were like a spoiled, I guess.
Yeah, there's also a point where he was 5.6K, I think, for a large portion of last season. This guy, since the beginning of last season, has a 264 ISO and a 386 WOBA. Batting second, going up against Kelly, who has not allowed a ton of power to lefties, but the underlying numbers don't really say that it should be the case. He's still giving up a 46% hard contact rate, below average fly balls, but he can get beat up pretty badly. He does not strike out lefties, and that's one of the bigger concerns for Yaz. So I really like the lefty stack of the Giants because Crawford, Belt, Yaz, Wade are all guys that have a lot of pop going up against a guy that doesn't strike people out, so it's going to be put in play. It's a little bit hotter than it normally is over in San Fran.
Nice price on FanDuel for Belt, by the way. He's like 2.9 or 2.7 over there. And I drifted there for a second. I'm not sure if you mentioned Alvarez and Brantley, both those guys.
Those were the beginning, yeah.
Okay,
I covered everything.
That makes it. And Boomstick, Nelly Cruz versus lefty in Sheffield. Yeah. All right. Devin, I'm going to talk slowly so you have a second to transition. Devin, of course, is talking on behalf of the chat. Do subscribe to our notifications. I'm not sure if we have a link for this. We mentioned it earlier in the show, but the Super Draft free rolls going down Thursday. That's when the U.S. Open starts for golf. First place, $200, $1,000 free roll. Doesn't cost you a thing. You get up to 5 entries, and we're unlocking our lineup HQ specific for Super Draft. If you guys want to have some fun and make some golf lineups, there's a golf show later on tonight for premium. There's one that was recorded yesterday for everybody out there in the YouTubes. Like, subscribe, notifications, yada, yada. Devin, we gave you plenty of time. What's up, Devin?
You know, what's funny is I wasn't ready for you to go through the golf thing, so I was ready as soon as you, as soon as you started up. I turned myself on. Yeah, here we are, and
you'd think we'd have better chemistry after all these years.
We've been doing it for a while here. I wanted to start off here though. I had a couple of notes. Grant, you're wearing a T-shirt that has a cat and a unicorn with a magnum.
Yes.
I just want you to Google a game called Trials Fusion because I'm pretty sure that's from that.
Would not be surprised.
Also, I'm tilting Victor Robles bungling 2 full loaded base situations at bat. Just
did somebody stack Washington within the early slate?
Maybe. Yeah, we got a couple of questions. We can load those up. You guys want to just bounce between the two of you?
Yep.
Sure. Who's batting? Grant, you bat first.
Grant, starting you off. Stan asking the question of the day. Thoughts on a Miami stack?
Well, that's a trick question.
I haven't even.
They played early
slate. Yeah, they were on the earlier slate.
It's just basically thoughts on a non-Seattle stack. Dean, Frederick wants to know thoughts on Savali tonight for tournaments. Currently, both playing him and mini stacking against him in different lineups.
It's one of those things, and you ever hear people say, like, well, this game's going to go one of two ways. This guy gets shellacked or he pitches great. And you know what? That's not how they go many times. So a large percentage of the times, it's just they go out there, they're serviceable, they're fine, they don't help you, they don't really hurt you, and nothing really exciting happens, and it's a 4-3 game or a 5-4 game. And I think that's what we're getting out of Savali. I think he's like, okay, but he's not going to be the guy that breaks the slate for me. I don't think Baltimore necessarily shellacks him. But mostly pretending that game doesn't exist.
Plus, you can pay like $700 more for Wheeler.
Yeah, who we like.
MLB DFS, I think, is 80% the meh and serviceable performances from pitchers. Dean, Daryl wants to know, or Daryl doesn't really want to know. He was agreeing with you on your Fraley praise, the LSU beast. He liked him so much he dropped that in chat twice.
He went to Louisiana State, really?
LSU, yes, that was what they were.
Is that what LSU stands for?
You're kidding, right? You're aware it's Louisiana State? Yeah. The Tigers.
Oh, man.
Shout out.
Dean T wanted to know, I got busy at work, failed to submit a lineup for the early slate. Do I double down in anger and enter more lineups, or do I take it as a bad omen and tread lightly tonight?
Yeah, Breaking Bad style. Let's tread lightly. Yeah, let's not.
Well, Breaking Bad style is no more half measures. So
yeah. Well, it's also tread lightly, but yeah, it's both. I don't know which full measure.
Depends on how far into the series you're at.
There you go.
Grant, who's your other than Seattle single entry DK tournament top stack single entry?
I mean, it's hard to say. It's pretty much
because we know the answer is Seattle for you.
Yeah, the answer is Seattle, but it's so that I can afford pitching. Like, it makes sense. I don't want to play any outside of Greinke. I don't want to play a single pitcher under 9.6K, and I want to play everyone 9.6K and above. So if you're not doing that, then it's Houston and Atlanta are the two top stacked on the slate, but those are very expensive and chalky. So if you want a tournament pivot, it's over to San Francisco.
I was curious, Devin, are you adding commentary or did they actually type other than Seattle?
No, that was me. Because, I'm starting to learn, Dean. I asked these questions and they've been answered. They've been answered throughout the show. So, I got to get the second layer of these questions.
It's important.
Dean, Mark wants to know, FanDuel Cash, Austin Riley or Gio Urshela?
Ooh, Urshela was my sneaky homer of the day. So I will go, I assume he's, we talked about Stripling being a righty guy. The weather's not perfect there, better weather there in Atlanta. On the road as opposed to at home, so better chance of getting that extra at bat if you happen to get it there. I will give a slight lean to Urshela over Riley. Why is Riley batting behind Almonte? Whatever. Why is Almonte a cleanup hitter? He's terrible.
The Abraham Almonte?
The Abraham, yes. I thought that was implied, but yes.
I mean, the real question is how are both of them batting before Dansby Swanson?
Yeah, which Dansby Swanson is like, it's just the funniest name to me for some reason.
It's funny you say that. I have a buddy of mine from high school who literally every time he says that, he goes, Dansby.
It sounds like the most southern
exactly, like Dansby.
Who looks at a baby and says, you know what I'm going to name this thing? I'm going to name this thing Dansby. Who does that? One person did.
Grant, Darren wants to know, get out of your tournament mindset here. DK Cash, if you were to put together a cash lineup with two stud SPs, who would they be?
It would probably be Degrom and Kershaw for cash. I don't really play a ton of cash anymore. But yeah, it's those two guys for cash.
Personally, I'm trying to make Degrom and Wheeler work. I'm trying.
Bless those out there who are still doing the cash and MLB. That's just fighting the good fight, I guess.
Honestly, the best place to play cash is Yahoo, because a lot of the big cash game players kind of look at that last and they pay attention to that the least. So the best place to play cash is over on Yahoo. It used to be Fantasy Draft, used to be one best one because of overlay, but Yahoo is a place to play cash.
Dean, Stan wants to know, DK tournaments, Yankee stack?
Yeah, I think they're great. Absolutely. And I suspect, I don't know what our ownership has, but like Acuna is going to be more popular than Stanton and than Judge. I think people are going to spend on Atlanta first, and salary for everybody, obviously. So I do like that New York side in tournaments.
Coming up to the end of the show here, just checking in on chat. Hi, Eric Crane in chat. Good to see you, buddy. Also, GR Sauce says Devo getting the vapors over Dansby. Yeah, it's hard not to, right? Grant, large field tournament. Are you crazy to stack a Toronto?
I don't. There's more ridiculous things to do. My main problem is their pricing. They don't have a discount. If they had a discount, I'd be more apt to do it. But going up against Cole, the likelihood of them going off, and I think they're playing up in Buffalo, right? Yeah. So now, if it was down in Florida, it'd be different.
Just play Vladdy as a one-off. There you go.
Vladdy or Simeon.
You can. But the problem is the Yankees also have a good bullpen behind them.
Let's see, Dean, or I guess this one's technically for Grant. They called it out. Wig wants to know, who's the fifth man at a Seattle stack?
Anyone but Godoy. Like
Anyone.
literally, I like everyone 1 through 8 for their price tags and ownership. Every single one of them.
There you go. Perfect. Let's see. This one's we got to end on this one from Derek for Dean. DK tournament. Who's the mush play of the day? Dean, who's the first person you hit X button on?
I'll take the L from yesterday, by the way. And I was talking pre-show. I know we got to go, but it's been the back-to-back days where I got blanked. I made $0 in the last 2 days, and
you're making fun of me for stacking Seattle yesterday.
So the people need to know the mush play of the day.
I had yesterday. I was saying Christian Walker is he's getting so lucky, and I refused to play the pitcher for Washington, and I picked. It was not a good day for your boy. But the mush play of the day today, it's funny. Earlier today it would have been Degrom, but now I'm more buying into of course he's gonna be good.
I think the mush is the one that you're just gonna jinx, and you're saying that Ober is gonna be decent for his price tag.
The Mariners. So yeah, I'll mush the Mariners.
Look at that.
Yeah.
We got the correlated mush. You gotta love it.
Yeah, I mean I'm gonna play a couple Mariners, especially Seager's got a nice price. We did just get, by the way. Well, I guess
no Buxton. I think I heard.
Oh, is there no Buxton?
No Buxton.
He's lobbying. He's trying to play some baseball, but it's not happening. I was going to get excited there for a second, but yeah, no Buxton tonight. We got to go. Devin's got to produce the premium show. Devin, who's on the show with you tonight?
I believe it's Tuttle and Cardi running it back for 2 nights in a row.
There you go. They were so good yesterday, returning champions.
Encore.
And Roth, of course, will tell you guys what's going on. Free bird. And Roth's all over the weather as well, too. That was Grant. That was Devin. This was definitely baseball. I was 100% Dean. That's the show. Good luck tonight. Crush it. We're out of here. Holler.